G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, and now for something completely different. It's not quite actually my birthday, but I was visiting a friend of mine the other day, and he showed me a bundle of handmade bamboo shaft carved wooden tipped arrows. And the bundle was about 6 inches across. There might have been 30 or 50 of them. And he'd bought these things at his own sort of price from a neighbour who was turning collected items into money so he could go to an auction and buy more collected items. And old mate picked up this bundle and he said I could take me pick. And so, being greedy, I did. I was a bit careful in my selections, and although this one is missing a wrapping, it should go from about here up to here. You can just see the mark of whatever gum was used as an adhesive. And structurally, these petals here, they need support, so there's supposed to be another wrapping going on there. I might do that with nylon twine, perhaps, just as I might close that crack at the end of the shaft on what appears to be a wooden copy of an arrow made using genuine actual stingray stings. What this arrow is it's a fish hunting arrow made by somebody who lives up on top of the mountains a long way from the ocean. They've seen a stingray sting at some point, but they haven't actually got one, and they must have a deep enough river to have fish in it. And these seem to have been carved from split slivers of bamboo. Quite serious points, and before they'd completely dried out, I imagine they would work pretty well. You might catch one fish with each one. I don't know that you'd expect to be able to use those barbed points over and over again. And of course, you've got to have this absent wrapping along here. Otherwise, they'll just fall out. But it is very interesting to see how carefully the structure has been designed to transfer the shock from the pointed barbs into the shaft. Must transmit the stored energy of the arrow into the fish. Moving right along, this wicked hooking contraption is made out of hardwood, and other than ornamentation and colour, the only function I can imagine for the yellow wrappings is so that when it gets stuck into somebody, some of that wrapping's likely to break off and form a focus for infection. This is quite solid. Well wrapped, and it's the condition of this wrapping which convinces me that since this thing left its maker's workbench, something has fallen off. Here we see a vestigial little bit of trailing cane wrapping to provide a focus for infection, and these barbs I'm pretty sure they've been cut with metal tools. I don't see anybody making those as neatly and as nicely as that with stone tools. The hardwood itself has been rubbed with ochre, as has the bamboo shaft. And once again, it's the integrity of the mounting with a herringbone woven ferrule on top of 1, 2, I think 3 cane bindings, servings. The integrity of that mounting convinces me that, yeah, this is missing something. Then we have pretty much the piece de resistance, which sadly has a crack that urgently needs fixing, and I think I'm going to put a band around the middle and a band of carefully served nylon kite string to prevent that from shrinking any further, because if that crack there breaks out, then this piece is kind of rooted. But anyway, yeah, it's got more of this exquisite herringbone pattern to strengthen the joint, and then a 1, 2, 3 serving run of cane to strengthen the shaft, and the actual point is a slice out of a tubular piece of bamboo. So that's just designed for penetration, to go a long way in. And then we have the piece de resistance. Carved hardwood with 2 sets of intact parallel spines. Behind saw teeth up to a penetration point, more saw teeth, another set of spines, more saw teeth. Once again, overlapped interlocking herringbone weave of a ferrule. And then, as we get onto the shaft, we have decorative engraving. All the way to the tip. And while we're speaking of the rear end of the arrow shaft, all of them appear to me to feature pretty much the same treatment. The outside edge has been beveled, the inside edge has been beveled, and the entire rear chamber of the bamboo up to here has been filled with what I imagine to be a wax. I say it's wax because if you look just there, you can see the imprint of somebody's thumbnail when I decided to see whether that was epoxy glue or anything like that. So the back end of the shaft have been plugged with wax. There's no fletching, there's no knocking. I'm as near as damn is to swearing. I'm certain that these were never ever made to be used in battle. They've been made to trade or to sell to the tourist market, and I'm going to say they're probably 1960s vintage. I'm going to say that they come from the highlands of Papua New Guinea, and I'm going to make that assertion based on the fact that in about 1970 we went on a holiday, and we went down first to Goulburn and then to Canberra, and then we went to the Snowy Mountains scheme and had a look at their dams. And we didn't see much snow because it was the warmest season they'd ever had. And on the way back, we dropped into a Boy Scout jamboree that was happening south of Sydney. And in there was a display of stuff from the Boy Scouts of Papua New Guinea, which at the time was an Australian colonial protectorate. So I haven't seen anything quite like this for 51 years, but I have seen stuff that was similar to this, but not as detailed, not as finely decorated. Particularly, I haven't seen anything like that on the tourist market in 1970. So yeah, I would say the youngest these are is 50 years old, come from the highlands of New Guinea, made for the tourist trade, but made back in the days when the people who were making arrows for the tourist trade, yeah, they had some modern metal tools, knives and wood rasps, but some of this stuff, yeah, I think you can nearly see hacksaw teeth marks in some of that. There you can see saw teeth marks. So these are not actual Stone Age tools in the sense that they weren't made with sharp rocks. But this is an example of traditional craftsmanship using a minimum of modern tools to demonstrate their culture. To the industrial whitefellas who went up there to see what resources they could strip out of the place before self-government, which happened in about 1976. I might actually have something better than kite string to fix that. What I need is to look around and find a strip of thin flat cane or a thicker strip of cane which might be taken from some other object or artefact and repurposed from where it's not doing very much at the moment. And I think once I soak it in water, I should be able to bind that from there down to there, straight over the top, in the same style, because I do know how to do hidden end serving just like that. I wouldn't be able to do that, and I wouldn't be able to do that. But this, and something to fix that, I can come up with. That crack, I have to put compression on that crack. Ideally, it's got to go on there, straight across there, and a little bit back there as well. Yes, it's going to cover up some of the carving, but it'll prevent the end from coming to pieces. And as you can see, that's actually the outside sheath of living tissue on the bamboo. Here is where it's been scraped off, and here's where it's been cut into to give the point. So ideally somebody might pass this video on to two blokes on the other side of the world, Jorg Sprave and Todd Cutler, or Todd's Workshop, two channels who do an awful lot of work on archery. And if you fellas can find something like these, on the EuroPeon eBay market. I would dearly love to see you fellas fire something like this into one of your blocks of ballistic jelly team. Having mounted, where are we? Mounted a head like this onto a shaft that you're comfortable with putting onto your crossbow, because I would not expect you to try using skinny little pieces of display grade bamboo with anything more than about a 20-pound bow. But yeah, you fellas like testing arrow points, have a crack at some of these and see how well they go. See if that gives a bit of a better view of it. Forgive the lack of precision, but with a hand magnifier outside in the sun, it's kind of the best that can be done. So off you go, Jorg and Todd. Show me some videos of stuff like that. Hurtling through the air at 300 or 400 feet per second and going into your ballistic jelly team. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao. And thanks, Dave. Lovely birthday present.